Let's be real, I didn't get into quail thinking it would be hard. I saw the Pinterest pictures, I read the blog posts, tiny birds, big promise, perfect for backyards, they said. Here's what they didn't say. They'll break their necks if you build the wrong pen, they'll stop laying eggs if you look at them sideways, and people will 100% ask you if they're pigeons. This is your warning guide, survival manual, and a dose of tough love. Let's skip the fluff and dive into what I wish someone told me before I got quail. Now picture this. You go outside one morning and 3 birds are missing. No holes in the coop, no feathers, no sign of struggle. Just gone. You start questioning reality. That's what happens when you underestimate quail. They're tiny, but their energy is massive. Let's break this down so you're actually prepared. They're jumpers. Vertical ones. When quail are startled, their instinct is to lock straight up. Not diagonally, not logically, straight freaking up. And they do it full force, like a feathered bouncy ball with trust issues. If your enclosure has a hard or low ceiling, boom, you just created a do-it-yourself brain injury booth. What to do instead? Give them 12 to 18 inches of headroom, max if they're in a brooder or hutch. Pad the ceiling, use foam tiles or rubber shelf liner, or use mesh netting so you don't knock themselves out. Reduce startle triggers, sudden light changes or loud noises equals chaos launch. They lay wherever they want if stressed. Quail don't always use nesting boxes like chickens. If they're scared, too crowded, or their environment keeps changing, they'll lay eggs in corners, under feeders, or right in the middle of a stampede path. Translation: cracked eggs, mystery eggs, or no eggs at all. What to do instead? Keep things consistent. Same light, same feed, same setup. Add fake eggs or golf balls in corners to train them to lay there. Provide sand or soft bedding in one area of the pen to encourage egg-laying zones. They're light cycle sensitive. If you mess up their light cycle, their laying shuts down. Cold turkey. They need 14 to 16 hours of light per day to keep laying reliably. That can be natural or supplemental, but if you suddenly cut them to 10 hours, they'll quit faster than you can say omelet. What to do instead? Use a plug-in timer or any supplemental light. Let it auto-manage their schedule. Don't place lights directly above their head. Spread it out and make sure they have a darker corner to sleep. Now back to the chaos. They also panic run into walls, get startled by shadows, and if one bird flips out, the whole flock might join in like it's some kind of synchronized anxiety event. But here's the thing. Once you understand how they operate, they're actually very easy to manage. It's not about controlling them. It's about setting the environment up right from the start. So are quail worth it? Yes, but only if you're willing to learn, not just copy. This isn't a set it and forget it situation. It's a set it right and reap the reward situation. If you want reliable protein, a side hustle, or just the confidence boost of raising your own quail, you're in the right place. Just know, you're not raising birds, you're managing chaos disguised in feathers. The truth is this, quail will panic so hard they can literally launch themselves into the ceiling and break their own neck. And yes, it's as horrifying as it sounds. This is the kind of stuff I wish someone had told me before I bought my first batch of adorable Coturnix. Because while they're easy to raise, prolific layers, and borderline magical in terms of space and efficiency, they're also tiny chaos gremlins with a death wish if you don't house them right. So let's talk about what's really going on, how to prevent it, and why it matters way more than you think if you're planning on raising quail. It all comes down to their wiring. Quail are prey animals, like the definition of prey animals. Their survival strategy is pure panic. Something moves, fly. Something blinks, fly. A breeze, fly. That means when they're startled by you, a shadow, the dog, a sneeze, they explode upward in what's called a flush response. It's not graceful, it's not cute, it's violent and vertical. And if your enclosure has a solid roof and not enough vertical space, they can, and do, break their own necks on impact. I've seen it, and once is enough to make you rethink your entire setup strategy. There are 2, and only 2, housing styles that keep your quail alive and unbroken. Number 1 is a low ceiling. Think 12 inches to 18 inches. The goal here is to prevent liftoff altogether. With a low enough ceiling, they can't get momentum to flush, so they stay grounded. This is perfect for stacked indoor pens, breeding cages, and grow-out trays. Pros: efficient for small-scale indoor breeding setup. Easy to clean and manage. Prevents neck injuries and height limitations. The cons: not ideal for enrichment or colony life. Doesn't work well outdoors in all climates. The second one is a tall aviary. Think 6 foot or more. On the flip side, give them enough vertical space and they can flush, but they lose momentum before hitting anything hard. Think of it like giving them enough runway to fly and land softly. These setups are beautiful, enriching, and perfect for colony birds. Pros: great for natural behavior and enrichment. Safe flush zones if built tall enough. Ideal for educational or display flocks. Cons: higher material costs. Must be predator-proof, hardware cloth, skirted base, solid floor, and more maintenance. The worst thing you can do, build a coop that's 2 to 4 feet tall. That's just enough room to gain speed and not enough to survive the landing. You may think it's just about humane housing, and it is, but it also impacts your bottom line. Let's do the math. You lose one quail to a neck injury. That's $5 to $15 in lost product, meat, eggs, or breeder value. You lose 5 in 1 week because the kids ran too fast past the pen. Now you're down $75 plus. Multiply that over a few months, especially in grow-out cages, and you're eating your margins alive. Dead birds don't lay eggs. Dead birds don't make money. No one wants to talk about dead quail. It's uncomfortable, but I'd rather be blunt than let you make the same mistakes I did. This is the kind of stuff that makes or breaks your success with quail. It's not just about how many eggs they lay or what to feed them. It's about how to actually keep them alive long enough to turn a profit, feed your family, or fall in love with the process. So yeah, I love quail. I'm obsessed with them, but I also respect the heck out of how fragile they are if you don't set them up right. Let's talk honestly. You don't need another blog telling you quail are quiet, clean, and cute, because yes, they can be those things, but they can also be loud little chaos gremlins that poop like it's a sport and die dramatically for no reason you can detect. Here's the good stuff. Their fast egg production. You'll get eggs in 6 to 8 weeks. Compare that to chickens who take 5 to 6 months. That's like skipping the baby phase and going straight to productivity. They have a minimal space requirement. A breeding group, 1 male and 4 females, only needs about 3 to 5 square feet. You could raise dozens in the space it takes to store your holiday decorations. They get eggs daily. 1 hen is up to 300 eggs a year, and if you get the Rosetta, it can be 330. Imagine having a dozen hens. Easy to process if you eat meat. No plucking needed. Skin them like a tube sock. Done in 2 minutes. I walk you through it in another module. Legal in more places. Many cities that ban chickens don't mention quail. Why? Because most people think they're songbirds or fancy pets. Now here's the not so cute. They're not pet material. These birds are not cuddly. They won't love you. At best, they'll tolerate your presence. At worst, they'll play dead for sport. There's no room for error. Bad feed, poor ventilation, or too much stress, they won't power through. They'll just drop dead and leave you wondering what you did wrong. They're escape artists. I found one shimmy through a hole I didn't even know was there. If there's a gap, they'll find it. They're predator magnets. You thought chicken wire was enough? That's cute. Every predator within a mile radius thinks you built them a snack bar. So if you're not ready to learn and tweak your setup, don't start. But if you're willing to put in a couple weeks of prep, these birds can pay for themselves fast. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Chickens are fine, but they're also a commitment. They take up space, take their sweet time to lay, and if you live in a neighborhood, they might get you a nasty letter from your HOA or that one neighbor who watches everyone's yard like it's their full-time job. Quail, though, they're the loophole. Check your regulations to be sure. You don't need a barn, you need a shelf, literally. People raise them in garage racks, greenhouses, spare bedrooms, and backyard hutches the size of a recycling bin. As long as you meet their basic needs, space, ventilation, light, and food, they thrive in tiny setups. That's why they're perfect for apartments, suburbs, or chaotic moms who already have enough going on. They lay faster than chickens. Like eggs, by the time a chicken would still be awkwardly growing feathers. At 6 weeks old, your quail are already laying eggs. Meanwhile, your chickens are out there molting and figuring out how to use a perch. Quail are less messy. Still messy, but less, especially if you're smart with your setup. Here's the trick. Raise quail on wire above dropping trays and clean once or twice a week, sometimes more depending on how many you have. Or deep litter if you want to compost. Either way, you're not dealing with soggy shavings and giant chicken turds. It's all tiny scale and easier to manage. More eggs per body weight. Pound for pound, quail win the efficiency war. A single quail lays the same amount of eggs per year as a hen, if not more, just in smaller packages. But you can raise 4 quail in the space of 1 chicken and they eat half as much. That math adds up fast. Quail are cheaper to feed, especially if you get creative with garden scraps, bugs, or fermenting. A 50-pound bag of feed will last a lot longer with quail. You can stretch it even more by fermenting feed, more nutrients, less waste, tossing in mealworms or black soldier fly larvae, or giving them chopped greens and veggie scraps. Just avoid anything moldy, salty, or toxic. If chickens are the suburban minivan, quail are the 2-door hatchback that somehow fits 5 kids and still gets 40 miles per gallon. Not always pretty, but shockingly efficient. And here's the best part. Quail don't crow like roosters. They make a short, sharp trill sound that most people think is a loud songbird. Translation, you can raise males without the entire neighborhood knowing. So yeah, quail aren't just the starter bird. They're the smart bird. The I'm not trying to become a full-time farmer, I just want food freedom bird.